Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sid. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sid_Dwyer. And in today's video, I want to talk about Grav3yardgirl. Basically, she's an old school YouTuber whose username comes from what her original form of content was, which was videos of her hanging out at graveyards. She has since long moved on from that kind of content and found big success in making review videos for as seen on TV items. And those were the videos that gained her a huge audience. And because of the success of those videos, she was able to hold meet and greets that had massive turnouts. She was doing big collaborations with companies and was growing her online community called the Swamp Family. But then eventually things took a bit of a nosedive. She would once rake in millions and millions of views per video, and she pretty much invented a new genre of content with her Does This Thing Really Work videos. But as of the last few years, her journey on YouTube has been one of ups and downs and desperation. And the desperation comes into it because of the declining interest in her videos. She has always been a very successful YouTuber, but her views went from the millions to the tens of thousands to the 100s of thousands. So a pretty significant visible drop there. And she was pretty open about how that made her feel when she sat down with Shane Dawson to talk about it.
I don't even want to care about like the numbers and the views and the subscribers and whatever. Like, I just want to have fun. Yeah. But it's like I feel like I can't have fun because I feel like the whole world is watching me fail. Everybody now is like using numbers and metrics to like measure success, and it's like, oh, well, you know, everybody's looking at you and wondering like, oh, does this thing really work? Doesn't even get a million views anymore. Like, what's wrong with her channel? Like, da 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 da. Oh, her channel's dying, and I'm just like, ooh.
Like, I can get how watching the interest in your videos slowly dissipate would be a hard thing to see, especially when she was on such a uphill trajectory for so long. Like, if you look at other old school YouTubers like Tyler Oakley and Connor Franta, whose views also started to drop, similar to Grav3yardgirl's, they moved on to other bigger, better, different things when the interest in their content started to go away. For them, they had kind of just accepted that YouTube was just a job for them during that period of time, and it was time to move on. It gave them a platform and so many amazing opportunities, and they were kind of just able to accept that and move on. But Grav3yardgirl, she doesn't want to move on. She wants to keep making YouTube videos. And despite the dwindling views, she continued to make the one thing that made her successful, which was the review videos on the as seen on TV products. And unfortunately, lightning wasn't able to strike twice in the same place because her audience continued to dwindle, which was a shame because there wasn't really anything that she did particularly wrong to cause that to happen. Like, she didn't do anything extremely controversial which caused her audience to see her in a different light and reconsider supporting her. She just didn't really do anything different to help drive new viewers to her videos. And then it finally got to a point that she realized she had to make some kind of drastic change to help save her channel, and that is when she enlisted the help of fellow YouTuber Shane Dawson. Shane has often referred to himself as the grandpa of YouTube.
Oh, there's the grandpa of YouTube. Oh, that's Shane.
Because other YouTubers have sought him out for advice, and Grav3yardgirl was one of those people. And the way he helped was to make a series of videos centered around saving her YouTube channel. And at the time, it seemed like he really could save her channel. He saved Tana Mojo's career after TanaCon, he helped make Jake Paul more likable, and of course, the best qualification that he had out of everything was the fact that he had been able to successfully navigate and adapt to YouTube's ever-changing trends to stay relevant. Like, Shane had never really had any sort of significant drop in interest to his content, unless he went through something super controversial. But yeah, that was something that Bunny hadn't really been able to do. So he flew to where she lives and then gave her a bunch of tips to help save her channel. And honestly, I think the kind of unspoken tip was the fact that he was making an entire video series with her, because his videos get millions and millions of views. So of course she's gonna get some kind of clout from that as well. But other than that, he did give her some tips. One of the tips was better thumbnails. Pretty standard.
I'm going to tell you why this might not have done as good as you were expecting.
Yeah.
Because we've seen this from you before.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Another suggestion was to tell ghost stories.
Why don't we do what we were talking about? Like, interviewing each other about ghost stories we've had or experiences we've had.
Another idea was for her to make content where she opens up more and shows more of her life.
There's a few things I noticed in your house that I was shook that you have not shown.
Yeah.
And I'm curious why.
And one thing that really stands out from the entire series was when Shane rocked up to her house, she was very uncomfortable with him filming there.
Oh my god. Have you ever shown your house?
No. What? I don't want to.
She just had never shown that part of her life to her viewers. But Shane thought by sharing that sort of stuff, it would be a good opportunity to open up to and connect to her viewers more. So yeah, pretty much the takeaway advice was to make better thumbnails, to share more of the materialistic side of her life, and to open up and share more stories about her life. But for Graveyard Girl, that was easier said than done. The advice around the thumbnails was easily achievable, although she did eventually return to her usual style of thumbnails. But yeah, it's kind of hard to tell even if that would make a difference to begin with. It were mainly the other points that Shane made that were more of a struggle for her to keep up with. So Shane's suggestion of telling ghost stories, did she listen? Yes and no. Right off the heels of the Shane Dawson series, she did make one video centered around her experience with a ghost, but she never revisited the idea after that. She expressed multiple times in Shane's series that she had had a very rough time with ghosts.
Like there's some stories I'm like ready to share, and there's just some things that are like so. Like, I don't want to talk about it.
So I can understand why she wouldn't want to dwell on that sort of stuff, especially since we saw how distressed it made her.
I mean, at this point, I'm leaving. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not here to summon anything. Like, I was just here to have, like, a nice little video. Like, this is not even for YouTube.
Wait.
I don't want to... I would not.
And then, did she follow through with the advice of being more open about her life? Again, yes and no. From the series, I got the impression that Shane wanted her to be more open with the luxurious and materialistic aspects of her life, but anyone could tell that that wasn't going to happen overnight for her, especially when she had some pretty strong privacy boundaries to begin with. But she was kind of more open to a degree. An example of that was when she had a bit of a Karen moment at a Starbucks drive-thru. You may know what I'm talking about if you've watched my first video on YouTuber Karen Moments, but if you don't, she basically got a little entitled at a Starbucks drive-thru about getting free refills.
And I do feel like if you're loyal to these companies, they should be loyal back to their most loyal customers. That's the thought of loyalty.
Whether or not she had Shane's advice in mind when she shared that moment about her life, it did not do her any favors. Unfortunately, she wasn't praised for opening up and sharing this moment, and instead was heavily criticized for it. And any momentum that she gained from collabing with Shane quickly vanished. And at this point, after not really following through with any of Shane's tips, and then later encountering some controversy because of the whole Starbucks drive-thru situation, she was left off worse than how Shane found her. And she ultimately returned to her usual content, leaving Shane's advice in her dust. So as hard as she tried, and as hard as other people tried to help her, she wasn't able to return to the kind of success that she encountered when she first started making her as seen on TV review videos. But then a few years later, on her own, she made a decision that helped her gain some more traction on the internet again, and that was to sign up to TikTok. She brought her unique sense of style and her strange interests to TikTok, and that was received really well. And what's interesting is that in her TikToks, she shares a lot less than what she shares on YouTube. So really, maybe the answer wasn't to open up more. Despite interest in her YouTube content significantly decreasing, she was still able to retain a decent following. So I think the answer was to just continue appealing to her niche audience, just on a different platform, where that niche audience is even bigger. Because I'm sure everybody is aware of how TikTok is a place for literally everything, so it's no surprise that Bunny has been able to thrive on there. And of course, TikTok wasn't really around or as big as it is today when Shane did his series with Bunny. So him telling her to sign up to TikTok was probably never going to be in the realm of advice. But I think it just goes to show that channels' viewerships will just naturally decrease or fluctuate and just be super unpredictable, especially if they gained a huge amount of their audience from a trend And it's just not the content creators whose viewers mainly came because of a trend and then mostly disappeared when that trend died off. The life cycle of those content creators is definitely more quick, but there's also just ones who have had a full long life on YouTube that eventually just stopped gaining momentum. Bunny is definitely somewhere in the middle of that. She kind of got a lot of her viewers from the as seen on TV trend and then was able to parlay some of that success into other things. And throwing it back to Connor Franta and Tyler Oakley again, like they were still making the same style of content right up until they stopped making YouTube videos, because that was the kind of content that they liked to make. Like they could try and take Shane's advice and go all out and make these epic thumbnails and make longer form videos and open up more and do all this and that, but at the end of the day, if they don't enjoy doing that, then they're not going to do it. Or they can try, realize that they definitely don't like doing it, and then go back to their old style of content, which is exactly what Grav3yardgirl did. And after the series with Shane, Bunny kind of gives her opinion on the content she likes to make in a video titled An Honest Life Update, where she does open up, that's for sure, but she kind of does indirectly go against the rest of Shane's advice.
I really enjoyed a video that I put up last week, which was called Why I Don't Hunt Ghosts Anymore, or Why I Don't Ghost Hunt Anymore. I don't feel like that one was perfect, but I felt like I just kind of videoed throughout that day. I had some fun footage. I didn't get overwhelmed. It was great. It really made me happy to see that you guys enjoyed that video so much, because I felt like I was just like being real, having fun, not trying to make anything like bigger or better or more interesting than life really is.
So yeah, now that she's enacted Shane's advice just a little bit, she's now come to a place where she's just happy to do her own thing and do what makes her happy and not be so focused on the views. You know, for the viewers, I can see how it could be frustrating seeing Grav3yardgirl not take any of Shane's advice and then see her channel go back to how it was before. But yeah, at the end of the day, Grav3yardgirl's story is about staying true to who she is and not changing who she is to appeal to more people. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say about Grav3yardgirl's journey over the last few years on the internet. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drink water, be nice to animals. Let's take a moment of silence for everyone who has to deal with Karens. And I'll see you in my next video.